Hey, this is Gustav Mendoza, part of the SOMA and Wall Education Artistic team. I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to actually control and style with clipper styling. And why I call it clipper styling is because it's not really necessarily a barbering technique. I'm kind of merging the two together, and I'm actually going to use some products to control the hair using the choice of comb. For instance, she has dark hair. I'm going to use a light comb so I can see contrast here. And then what I'm going to do is, typically people use the clippers one way, and that's flat against the head. I'm going to show you the other two, the ones that were left out and that aren't taught in the basic cosmetology setting. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a chevron-shaped part. I'm going to use some rageout by SOMA, emulsify this in my hand, and this is how I'll start it. What it does is it helps these hairs stay, for instance, the way I want it to style. You see how it's kind of smoothing down? Sometimes those get in your way and you can accidentally cut them and you're not really wanting to. Now you have more control, and it's also silkening and softening the hair as well. So then when you're parting the hair, you have a very clean line. So that's 101, clean parts, using the right comb, and then I'm going to show you the other two techniques. So for instance, this is going to be our first one. I'm going to start with the longer guard, and I'm going to adjust my clipper to a 4.5. And how we do that, this is the chrome style by Wall, and actually this is a smart clipper that actually adjusts from 1/2 to 0. So you want to go ahead and see how this is closed. This is going to be open, and then we're going to put a number 4 guard, and we'll slide this right on, just like that, and make sure it's right on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to start from the bottom, working our way to the front. And so you're just going to follow the outline, and right about here, we're going to keep the weight line. So this is how we'll do it. This is the first way where you typically hold it. It's called the primary clipper position. And you can use your comb to organize your work. And I wouldn't work more than an inch at a time. That's a big mistake that people jump around on the haircut. So you want to work it until you have a next guide moving forward. And see how I'm keeping this weight line? I'm purposely doing that because I want to keep a fuller shape there, and I'll show you how to use our second and third technique when we're blending with the clipper. And so we're going to go ahead and work into the front. One thing that people have a lot of problems with is around the ear. So there's a couple parts you got to pay attention to. So corners and whole blade. So when you're using a whole blade, that's usually for flat areas. Okay. When you're using the corners, it's going to be used when you're doing smaller areas. So if you wanted to keep that top part fuller, I'm just using this corner shape here. And if I wanted to keep this fuller, I'm using the other corner shape right here. So going this side, and then we'll bend the ear down, and now we're going to use the whole blade to meet them in the middle. And I'm purposely leaving this in, so now we're going to do our second way. So we're going to put a number 2 guard on. Number 2 guard is going to be set at 0. Then we're going to slide this on. And then this is the second way we're going to do it. So this is the first way was flat. Now I'm going to elevate it. And what that does is it half cuts, half blends. So if you see, I'm not taking a lot of hair off, but because I'm elevating the clipper, it's blending it. And that's the number one thing people ask me when I'm traveling around teaching this is how do I blend without causing more lines? Well, if you make sure that you follow through with this tip and using the top of the blade versus the bottom, it's going to blend every time. And see, that's a number 2. And now this is going to be flat, so I can get those hairs just a little bit shorter. And then to blend it, lift it up. Now the third one is when you fold it all the way up, and this is texturizing only. Even if it's a number 2, it's still not cutting the number 4 shorter, see? All right, and then we'll transfer that over a comb technique. Now when you're using the over comb technique, I want you to understand that they have a groove here, and this groove is actually meant for when you're doing clipper over comb, you set the corner of the clipper in there and you go back and forth. So this is the original clipper over comb technique. So when you're using a wall clipper, get you a wall clipper comb that has contrast. So you can see contrast with the white comb and the dark hair. And so what we're going to do is it's just like the secondary position I did here, but now I'm going to flip it up. And this is called brush cutting. And how you do it is you got to make sure your clipper's like this. You're going to go in where that weight line, and you're actually just going to brush across. And what happens is it doesn't have a weight line anymore, and it blends perfectly. So these are the quick tips that I'm giving you. 1, 2, 3, using a number 4, number 2, and doing a brush cutting technique. This is Gustav Mendoza giving you those tips. Wall Educator, Soma Artistic Team. Thanks a lot.